Right, welcome back. Today, we're in BeamNG Drive, where you've caught me in a bit of a precarious situation. Now, it was never my intention to be getting relentlessly chased down by the police. I just thought it would be fun to dive into the work-in-progress career mode and see how the exciting path of becoming a professional race car driver played out. But, as you can see, somewhere along the line, things have gone just horribly wrong. So here we are, day one of our career, standing outside a car dealership with no vehicle and a little over $11,000 in cash sitting in our pockets. Now, we need to remedy that, so let's see what our options are. There are 3 cars available. First up, a 200BX, rear-wheel drive. Second, a Corvette, front-wheel drive. And last but not least, a 2400 iX, rocking the universally agreed upon greatest drivetrain, all-wheel drive. Now obviously, since I'm not a complete idiot, this is the car we've chosen to take a look at. And it turns out the engine is just hot garbage, coming in at about 129 brake horsepower. But honestly, the car's clean, and it even comes with some free transport cases in the boot. That's enough looking. I'm sold. Ugh, dealership fees and taxes? That raises this car's price up to about $7,500. With the purchase complete, it's now time to drive all the way over to the garage to spend the remaining cash modifying our vehicle. The garage which turns out to be right here. Car parked, time to modify it. Limited cash meant limited upgrades, but we did what we could, and now it's time to head over to our first race. Since any accidents will require us to spend money we don't have on repairs, we'll have to drive safely. Finally arriving at our destination. With the race underway, it doesn't take us long to figure out that this car is severely lacking in power. The only spark of hope that we've got is the hatchbacks we're going up against appear to be just as arthritic as us. And because of that fact, we find ourselves fighting with third place as we come down the long straight. Unfortunately for him, as we reach the end of that straight, only one of us remains, as we take the inside line on the corner, claiming second place in the process. And with that, we're down to our last opponent, just as we enter the final section of the race. And up until now, I have not given the engine in this car much credit, mainly because it's garbage. But it turns out, not as garbage as our opponents, as our vehicle manages to push its way into first and then increase that lead, all the way up until the finish line, happily claiming itself its first victory of the event. Second race of the event, and it looks like our opponents have stepped it up in terms of the cars that they're driving, making us horribly outclassed for the race. Luckily for us though, some idiot decides to take out half the grid, with us only suffering minor wheel damage. Something we shouldn't complain about though, as clearly it could have been much worse. And it's at this point that we realise we have one opponent to catch, but unfortunately he appears to be much faster and has built up quite the substantial lead. Come on car, any semblance of power would be highly appreciated right now, as no doubt the lead car is getting further and further ahead with each second. But it turns out, for the second time in this race, we get lucky, as first place has failed to take a very simple corner, allowing us to steal that position right out from underneath them. So with no opponents having a workable vehicle, we cruise home to yet another first place. Our car is clearly lacking racing potential, and we're going to need cash to improve it. For that reason, we've taken a side job, delivering cars for clients, to make us just a bit more cash. Whoops. Don't worry about it. I'm sure that's going to buff out. With car delivery services not earning the amount of money we were hoping it would, we've been forced to turn to more extreme measures to make some cash. downside to these extreme measures is that unfortunately, the smell of crime has attracted some local police. So the plan is to ditch the money in a cabin at the woods and then lose the police and return for it later. Alright, money delivered. Now we've got two options to get out. Back the way we came, or further down this narrow road. Thank God for four-wheel drives. The only thing that would make this better is if I could actually see out the damn window. From this point on, I don't think I'm going to be able to sneak past any cops without looking extremely suspicious. But I do have a plan to lose the cops. I'm going to head to the one place that they would never suspect to look for me. All the way back at my own garage. Genius. Well, we got the money, but the ETK has clearly seen better days. If, like me, you are grateful for its sacrifice, then why not drop a like for it below? As I am afraid to say that it has reached the end of its road. And we are now in search of a brand new race car. And here's the car that we've chosen, a Sunburst. Now it's 4 cylinders, 4-wheel drive, and we've made enough modifications to it to be able to compete with our expected opponents. We've even removed the seats from the inside, and besides the possessed handbrake, the car's in good nick. So we waste no time getting it over to a racetrack so it can take part in its first event. Right, we're really entering the big leagues now, starting off last place in a grid of 5 cars. A grid which shortly after starting shrinks down to 4 cars, as our opponents decide to remove one of them from the pack. And as we head down to the first corner, yet another AI decides he doesn't want to partake in the race by overshooting the corner, leaving just 2 opponents remaining in a race of 3 cars. At this point, it becomes a battle for second place, but with the cars being so evenly matched, it's turning out to be a little bit more difficult than expected. Now, from previous experience, I know not to have much faith in the AI's capabilities. So out of a desire for safety, we abandon the move, slotting back into 3rd place, just as 1st place overshoots the corner, and with that, it's a battle between 2. Entering a long sweeping corner, we have to adjust for the other car, upsetting the balance and putting us at a disadvantage coming into a long straight, as 1st place takes this opportunity to increase its lead. But while we screwed up the start, 1st place makes a mistake at the other end, allowing us to capitalise on it and sneak through into the lead. Desperate to claw back that position, our opponent attempts to throw the laws of physics out the window, as he aggressively dives on the inside, in no way being able to stop for the corner. And with that, there's just 1 car remaining, which at this point I'm realising is a very common outcome for these races, as we enter the finishing straight, coming home in 1st place. Now I'd like to say that needing to upgrade our car is the reason we're back here in the city, but I'd be lying to myself. The sad truth is, I'm becoming addicted to doing the crime. So we're here with our 4-wheel drive escape vehicle. It's a minivan, but before you think I've gone insane, let me explain myself. I've placed bull bars on the front for strength, I've replaced the engine with a much more powerful one, and it's so inconspicuous, the cops are never going to suspect it. The cops suspected it immediately. Well now, that settles it. These bull bars are definitely worth their weight in gold. But we still gotta lose these cops which are continuously popping up no matter which road we take. Maybe our best option is gonna be to head up the highway. Well, it looks like there are cops up here too. Time to change path. Look at this, a nice empty piece of highway. The perfect place for an escape. Well, provided I don't wreck the car all by myself. The good news is though, we've finally lost it. Never mind. We floor the minivan in the other direction, trying to make as much distance before those two cops can turn around. But to no avail, as in front of us stand more cops, causing us to make a desperate move and dive into the tunnel as a last-ditch effort. Thankfully, these pursuit vehicles are driven by the worst drivers in the history of driving, as they all somehow manage to take themselves out, allowing the minivan and myself to escape off into the sunset. A deep quarry lake, the perfect place to dispose of evidence. Sadly, as much as I love your minivan, that means you. Nailed it. After topping the sunburst up with fuel, we're back on the road. Now we've decided not to spend any of our hard-earned cash, as I believe the sunburst still has a bit of life left in it. And if it can claim victory at one more race, then we could potentially afford an even higher performing vehicle. But before we think about that, we need to actually win this event. So here we are at the starting line, just in time for the next race. Well, here we go, and it doesn't take long for our opponents to decide which one of them will be sacrificed to the race gods at the beginning of this event, gaining us our first position, but definitely still at the back, falling further and further behind. There is a slight chance that not upgrading this machine could have put us at such a disadvantage that we might not be able to compete, as our opponents have become just specks off in the distance. Finally, the end of the straight was approaching. At this point my hope was that I can claw back some of this disadvantage in the corners. Now they say that nice smooth lines are the best way to take corners, but clearly I had a different school of thought on the matter, and I can't be judged too harshly on it because we've caught up to the back of the pack. Now all we need is an opening. Or failing that, an opponent to completely obliterate themselves from the race. Which we get, not once, but twice, leaving us in a one-on-one battle for first place, where unfortunately our lack of horsepower is on full display once again. We're gonna have to focus on carrying as much speed as possible through the corners to make up for this lack of power, as we slowly close the gap on our opponent, getting ready to make our move. Well, I guess we failed that move successfully. Honestly, not 100% sure how I feel about that, but at the end of the day, at least it's another win under our belt. At this point, we have copious amounts of money in our wallet, easily enough to go and find ourselves a more advanced race car. But we decided to go in a different direction by purchasing this vehicle, because the sun is out, meaning it's the perfect day for crime. Oh come on! I haven't even committed the crime yet. No time for that now. We've got to make our way over to the car and get out of here. A moment later, the pursuit is underway. But if the cops think that this ambush is a surefire way to catch me, then they are in for a very unpleasant surprise, as we have spent copious amounts of cash reinforcing this car making it so death-proof that even Kurt Russell would be proud. Nice try with the police roadblock, but it doesn't stop us, merely slowing us down slightly. And it's not long before we've built our speed back up, and with that, we're fleeing the residential area. Finding more cops in front of us, we decide to make use of our reinforced underbelly, taking the vehicle off-road. Through some bad navigation on my part, we've ended up back on that narrow forest road. Not exactly the place you want to be during a police pursuit, but we've got ourselves into this mess, so we have no option but to get ourselves back out of it. We managed to successfully navigate our way past 2 further cops, and with the forest road coming to a close, it's looking like we might actually make it through here. Well, that was incredibly lucky. Sure, I'd rather still have my side mirror, but if all 4 wheels are touching the ground again, then I really can't complain. We quickly dive onto the on-ramp, making our way down to the freeway, with a single remaining cop close behind me in pursuit. But due to driver error, he doesn't remain there for long. And although we make a driver error shortly afterwards, the car is still drivable, with 1 roadblock up ahead remaining, standing between us and freedom. With all the cops out of the way, there is nothing to stop us from escaping. I have retained my freedom, and all of that is thanks to you, car. You are truly my hero. So let's celebrate. You know what? I've got this beautiful quarry I'd just love to show you.